Hello folks, welcome to IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing a current affair topic presented to you by your faculty, Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we will be looking into today? Protecting satellite in space and what is India's strategy in doing so. Now first and foremost, why should we protect our satellites? They are up in the space. Who's going to go there and do something to our satellites? Well, believe it or not, yes, a lot of things are happening to our satellites from natural to your man-made. In this, how India is trying to protect, it is not like, yes, it is just out of blue. We have started thinking that, yes, someone will do something. 2024, there was a very near collision to our satellite from a foreign satellite. By almost 2023 onwards, if you take almost 10 such collisions have been stopped, wherein we spend so much money, manpower, energy in trying to put a satellite up there, and Aramse they're coming and trying to get into a collision that we have not yet been able to verify was it willful or was it accidental that the collision was to happen. Collision did not happen, we were able to avert it, but how many times can we tell we got lucky? So these is the topic which led to the government to seriously consider on discussing a topic like this. Indicates the seriousness of the situation. Now, if you are someone who likes to know more about national news, international news, geopolitical scenarios, then IAS Academy should be your #1 subscription because we provide detailed analysis on each of these topics. Now, let's get back to the topic. So, why such protection matters? Because satellites enable your navigation, internet, and scientists use it to determine the weather, defense, finances, in all the critical fields. Satellites perform a huge role. Alongside that, if you see the major threats, it is in the form of space debris. Space debris means more of, think of it like the junk which is present in the space. So much so that, let's say some particular satellite which has died, aged, a small bullet screw has been left off. That small bullet screw has the capacity to strike through a spacecraft in space, because space environment is something that cannot be controlled. So, a lot of pieces, bits, parts of all the satellite lying around in the space is called as space junk, or otherwise here what we call as space debris. So, what other threats your satellites face in space? If you see, it is also your hostile maneuvers. Purposefully a satellite coming closer to another satellite to scan it, to see what it's let's say what it is meant to do, and also try to create a willful collisions. Understanding? Jamming, spoofing as in try to indicate, that is take over and try to prove as so that it is coming, the information is coming from a real source, and also lead to huge amount of cyber attacks. If these are man-made, there is also natural in the form of your solar flare-ups, so in the form of your solar storms. So such economic cost and your critical infrastructure being destroyed by this will put a huge jeopardy and burden on the nation. So first thing we have decided is we have to avoid collisions. And like we said, avoiding collision, even a tiny debris in space can rupture and destroy satellites in orbital speeds, that is in space environment. So now this concept of trying to make sure your satellite is protected, this concept already your other countries are doing with respect to your USA. US in fact maintains a space fence, that is it can even detect a size of a tiny marble in space and give warning to the satellite so that they can maneuver out of the way. Yes, your EU is also doing, India is also doing from as IS-4OM, wherein it will track your satellites and it will issue collision warning. Understanding? We have also started this Project Netra. Project Netra is basically expanding with respect to your radars and multi-object tracking, which is there in Sriharikota, is also something that we are using to make sure that we avoid the collisions. Just in 2023 alone, 10 plus maneuvers have been done, that is we have moved our satellites to safety to prevent it from collisions. and many advanced researchers are even claiming that your LiDAR satellites will be better able to detect these or give a more of an early warning system, so as to they can maneuver it, they can maneuver the satellite out of the way. So what is the new thing that we have come up with in order to protect our satellites? That is bodyguard satellites. It's as the name states. How does a bodyguard work? He will be there with me so as to make sure he will travel with me, that no harm befalls on me. Same concept is for a satellite. So your bodyguard satellite are dedicated satellites which will accompany the critical assets. Okay, and how do they do that? They monitor close approaches, which satellite is coming, and it will help maneuvering in this particular critical satellite so as to not engage in any collision. And this is not a very new thing that we have come up with. It's already been followed in the global with respect to USA, China, Russia are all using different ways to protect their critical assets, that is their satellites. So this India considering itself would mean that we are moving from passive tracking to active tracking. Us even considering this itself indicates the seriousness of the situation. How are we tackling physical threats and digital threats, meaning how your jamming, spoofing, like we said earlier, right? One of the most weakest links that we can see with respect to a satellite is the ground based. Okay, where they will use it to jam the satellites. Understanding? So we have brought in your NAVIC authentication. ISRO has started using and testing on navigation message authentication, that is to showcase that the message that is sent from the ground to the satellite and satellite to the back is all from the original real source. It is not yet operational, it is still in the testing phase. Alongside that, in your military protection, how they try to do is through beam steering and your beam spectrum. So through this they try to protect the assets. With respect to cyber security also, our new certain guidelines of 2025 also speaks about encryption, segmentation, patching, incident reportation, especially when we saw with respect to our own NAVIC satellites. Yes, a NAVIC satellite, so many of the atomic clocks has been failed, and we have just kept on replacing the old ones. We are very closely to see how the aging of satellites have been. That is, NAVIC is our own regional navigation satellite, so that is becoming now many instances of your let's say your spoofing, jamming, all of those have been attempted. Understanding? So this would help us in make sure that our critical infrastructure is protected. And also in space framework has also brought in wherein that private players will also have to adopt your more of your cyber security standards. As we say with respect to natural threats, man-made ke liye we are able to trying to do this. How will we be able to target and deal with the natural threats such as your solar storms? India has an option for this also, that is our Aditya L1 mission, whereas our satellite will monitor and learn more about sun from your Lagrange 1 point. Okay, when we come to know more about this, we will be able to study more about your solar flare-ups and all of these data. So if these data is navigated properly, then we can maneuver our satellite in such a manner. So what happens if solar storms happening? Most times they will pull the satellite out of its orbit. So this tends to age the satellite very sooner. Understanding? So once if we understand, already know, yes, this is going to happen, then we can automatically maneuver it to safety and then back. Understanding? So this will reduce the risk of damage. If you see with respect to geopolitical and legal dimension, largely what happened was, especially your European Union satellites all face a lot of jammings, especially just about to as your Ukraine war was to begin. With this, Europe joined hands with your USA and 10 other countries also joined so as to make sure that the space remains a protected zone. Okay, and also India hosted IADC, and one main thing is ISRO pledges to reach debris free space mission by 2030. So many of the advanced countries, private players all have been trying to engage in order to protect and make sure that the critical assets remain in the control of the nation as well as outside your hostile maneuvers. So earlier, if you see space from the point of, if you see with regard to security, space is mandatorily supposed to be used only for peaceful purposes and it does not belong, that is no one can hold the space as the player of any particular player or a private member or a country. So everyone is supposed to bound to be on a responsible behavior with regarding to the space. Your UN corpus, that is we have to maintain the space for peaceful use, continues alongside your combined space operations initiative. Now, before we move ahead, we have a small announcement from Legacy IAS Academy. If you're someone who wants to kickstart your UPSC civil service journey, look no further, you have found the right spot with Legacy IAS Academy, which maintains its batch strength at 40 member per limit so as to make sure it provides you individualized and personalized guidance. In Legacy IAS Academy, we offer one-on-one mentorship, easy access to educators, daily mains answer writing challenge, daily prelims mock test series, interview mock test panel. We also conduct our sessions in both offline as well as online mode. For those of you who are working professionals and students, we also conduct our classes in the weekend batches. For more information, you can check out Legacy IAS Academy website or check out the number given below. Alright, now let's get back to the topic. See, with respect to satellites, it's not just a simple amount. What do I mean by that? Government has approved 27,000 crores for your expansion of Earth observation and security coverage, wherein 52 new satellites are to be placed in orbit, where the surveillance satellites will be placed as early as the first set by year 2026. So, in order to make sure that this space remains a level playing field for everyone, we need a multi-layered protection framework. How is that? First and foremost, we use the situational awareness like we spoke about, your NETRA, LiDAR, surveillance satellites, your bodyguard satellites, avoiding the collision. How? Through your pre-planned maneuvers, and also bring in secure communication, anti-jamming, and bring in your cyber security with respect to certain critical infrastructure, natural shielding for your natural frontiers like your solar flare-ups. Use the Aditya L1 forecast that India has to its advantage, and also first and foremost to make a clear decision on a agreed upon concept such as how long can an aged satellite allowed to be in the space. It should also be the aged satellite should also be about re-entry. Understanding. So, these factors are also to be covered. Another thing is active monitoring and deterrence to be provided through your bodyguard satellites, the topics that we are discussing, and global norms, that is with respect to your UN guidelines and multilateral cooperations together should come forward and set a global order with regarding to your space. With this, we can protect it to a certain extent. With this, we have come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and share it along with your friends. Thank you.